The day the aliens came changed everything. It was a clear morning in June 2087 when the massive ship appeared in Earth's orbit. Global defense systems went on high alert as strange signals flooded communication channels worldwide. Captain Alan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defender, the most advanced ship in Earth's small space fleet. His hands gripped the console as he watched the alien vessel on the main screen. It was at least 10 times larger than anything humans had built. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," said Communications Officer Diane Foster. "It seems to be some kind of translation program." Mitchell nodded. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with blue-tinted skin and large, thoughtful eyes. "People of Earth," the alien said in slightly mechanical English, "I am Ambassador Zeth of the Ceridian Republic. We come as representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace." Within hours, world leaders gathered in an emergency United Nations session. Diplomat Catherine Wright was chosen to lead Earth's response team alongside Captain Mitchell. As one of Earth's most respected negotiators, Wright had resolved conflicts in some of humanity's most troubled regions. "We need to approach this carefully," Wright told Mitchell as they prepared to board the shuttle that would take them to the alien ship. "This changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe." Mitchell adjusted his uniform. "Let's just hope they're as friendly as they claim." The Ceridian ship's interior was breathtaking. Soaring ceilings with shifting colors that seemed alive, gravity that adjusted perfectly to Earth normal. Ambassador Zeth greeted them personally, leading them to a large chamber where several other alien species waited. "The Galactic Council includes 27 spacefaring civilizations," Zeth explained. "We have watched your species with great interest. Your rapid technological development is unusual." Wright caught the slight hesitation. "Is that a concern?" "Not at all," replied a tall, reed-thin alien that introduced itself as Delegate Noor of the Vasari Collective. "It is impressive. Few species advance from primitive flight to space exploration in just over a century." For 3 days, Wright and Mitchell learned about the Council. They were shown incredible technologies: instant healing devices, faster-than-light travel systems, and energy sources that made Earth's nuclear power look primitive. "The Council offers Earth-protected species status," Zeth announced on the 3rd day. "This includes technological exchange programs, defense agreements, and regulated expansion rights for your colonies." "What does the Council expect in return?" Mitchell asked directly. "Adherence to Council laws, contribution of resources based on fair assessment, and participation in Council defense when needed," Zeth replied smoothly. "Standard terms for all member worlds." Back on Earth, debates rage. Some feared alien intentions while others saw unprecedented opportunity. After weeks of discussion, the world's nations formed the United Earth Alliance to deal with interstellar matters. President Gregory Palmer signed the Council agreement in a ceremony broadcast globally. "Today marks humanity's official entry into a larger community," he declared. "A new era of prosperity and discovery awaits us." In the following months, Council representatives helped establish human colonies on previously identified habitable worlds. Medical technology from the Ceridians nearly doubled human lifespan. Energy problems vanished with new power systems. Captain Mitchell, promoted to Admiral, supervised the integration of Council technology into Earth's defense systems. "Something doesn't feel right," he confided to Wright one evening. "They're giving us technology, but nothing that would make us their equals." Wright understood his concerns. "I've noticed the Council species watching us differently when they think we aren't looking, especially during military demonstrations." In a private Council chamber far from human ears, several delegates gathered secretly. "The humans adapt too quickly," one growled. "They've already improved the engine designs we provided." Ambassador Zeth nodded. "Give them time to trust us completely. Let them build their colonies. Share more basic technology." "And then?" asked another delegate. "And then we do what the Council has always done with potential competitors," Zeth replied calmly. We eliminate the threat before it becomes one. 5 years passed since first contact. Earth flourished with new technology. Colonies on Mars and Europa grew quickly, and humanity established outposts on 3 planets in nearby star systems. The United Earth Alliance worked closely with the Council, sharing resources and knowledge. Admiral Frank Bennett never fully trusted the aliens. As head of Earth's Space Intelligence Division, he ordered constant monitoring of all Council communications near Earth. Most messages were open and transparent, but Bennett's team detected strange encrypted signals between Council ships. Something's not right, Bennett told his chief science officer, Lisa Carter, as they reviewed the latest findings in his secure office. These transmissions spike whenever they think we aren't watching. Carter nodded, her eyes tired from days of work. We finally cracked their secondary encryption layer. You need to see this, sir. She placed a data pad on his desk. The translated messages were clear. The Council had been lying from the beginning. They viewed humans as dangerous and unpredictable. The technology sharing was carefully controlled to keep Earth dependent on Council resources. Most disturbing were the plans for a containment vote, scheduled for the following week. They're going to quarantine us, Bennett said, his voice tight with anger. Cut off our colonies and restrict our ships. It's worse than that, Carter replied. Look at the military deployment orders. Bennett read further and felt cold dread wash over him. The Council was positioning warships throughout human territory under the guise of routine patrols. Once the quarantine vote passed, they would disable Earth's defenses and force humanity to surrender its independence. Bennett immediately contacted President Palmer with the evidence. An emergency meeting of Earth's highest military and civilian leaders gathered in a bunker beneath Washington, D.C. We must prepare for the worst, Palmer told the grim-faced group. Admiral, how much time do we have? 3 days at most before their fleet is fully positioned, Bennett answered. Our weapons are no match for theirs in direct combat. Defense Secretary Natalie Ward stood up. We should strike first at their command ships. That would just confirm their claims that we're dangerous, argued Catherine Wright, now Earth's ambassador to the Council. We need to confront them diplomatically with the evidence. The debate continued until a young officer burst into the room. Sir, Council representatives are requesting an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. Their entire delegation just landed at the UN. At the United Nations headquarters, Ambassador Zeth stood before the General Assembly. His tone was no longer friendly. The Galactic Council has voted to place Earth under protective quarantine, effective immediately, he announced. All human military vessels must stand down. Council ships will oversee compliance. President Palmer stepped to the podium. We know about your true intentions, Ambassador. We've decoded your communications. Zeth's expression didn't change. Then you understand the necessity of our actions. Humanity advances too quickly and unpredictably. The Council has determined you pose an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. We joined the Council in good faith, Palmer replied, his voice firm. We will not surrender our sovereignty. Zeth sighed. Your cooperation is not required. At that moment, Council ships throughout the solar system activated powerful energy weapons. Earth's orbital defense platforms fell silent one by one. On Mars, the main colony's shields failed as Council ground forces landed. In orbit, the U.S. Defender under Captain Daniel Morgan watched in horror as Earth's defense grid collapsed. His communications officer turned to him with a pale face. Sir, we're receiving reports of precision strikes on military bases worldwide. Millions of casualties already. Morgan looked at the tactical display showing dozens of Council warships moving into position around Earth. His ship was one of the few Earth vessels still operational. Send emergency code Phoenix to all surviving ships, Morgan ordered. We can't win this fight here. As the Defender prepared to jump away from Earth, Morgan watched his homeworld burning. He didn't know if humanity could survive this betrayal, but he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. 3 months after the Council attack, Earth lay under alien control. Council ships patrolled the skies, and alien soldiers walked the streets of once proud human cities. Radio broadcasts told people to obey the new rules and accept Council protection. Anyone who fought back disappeared. But humanity was not defeated. Deep in the asteroid belt, the U.S. Defender hid inside a hollowed-out rock. Captain Daniel Morgan looked at the tired faces of his crew. They were among the few military survivors of what people now call the Betrayal Day. "Play the message again," Morgan told his communications officer. A grainy video appeared on screen. Admiral Bennett's face looked older, his eyes harder. "To all surviving Earth forces, the Council believes they've won, but they don't understand humans. We prepared for this possibility. Activate Phoenix Protocol. Coordinates follow. Bennett out." "Do we trust these coordinates?" asked Lieutenant Emma Wright, the tactical officer and Catherine Wright's niece. "It could be a trap." Morgan nodded. "It could be, but it's the only hope we have." Meanwhile, beneath the ice of Europa, Dr. Olivia Russell worked frantically in a hidden research base. The Council didn't know about this facility, built inside a deep ocean trench under Europa's frozen surface long before the aliens came. "They found another patrol," said her assistant, showing her footage of Council ships scanning nearby space. "They won't find us," Russell replied confidently. "The thermal masking is holding." She returned to her work, studying the alien technology they had managed to salvage. Before the attack, Earth scientists had secretly copied much of the Council's technical data. Now Russell's team worked to understand and improve upon it. Far from Earth, on the distant colony world of Haven, engineer Ryan Howard made a breakthrough. Council ships had blockaded the small human settlement, but had not landed troops. Howard had been working on modifying human communication systems. "It works," he exclaimed to the colony leader. "Their sensors can't detect our new signal pattern." Colony leader Peter Martinez smiled for the first time in months. "Can you adapt this to shield our ships?" "I already have the designs," Howard replied. "But we need to spread this to other colonies." Across occupied Earth, small resistance groups fought back against Council forces. They used simple tactics: hit quickly and disappear into tunnels and hidden rooms. Council soldiers found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't easily track or predict. In Chicago, Resistance leader Julia Patterson met with her cell in an abandoned subway tunnel. "The Council is getting nervous," she told the group. "They expected us to surrender completely by now." One of her fighters nodded. "I saw 3 of their patrols ambushed yesterday. They're afraid to go into certain neighborhoods now." "Good," Patterson replied. "But we need more than just hit-and-run attacks. We need a real way to fight back." As if answering her words, their hidden radio crackled to life with a coded message. Operation Lazarus initiated. The message repeated on resistance channels worldwide. Few knew what it meant, but all felt a surge of hope. On the Council's main command ship orbiting Earth, Ambassador Zeth received troubling reports. "The humans continue to resist despite overwhelming odds," reported his security chief. "Their ability to adapt is remarkable." "They are merely delaying the inevitable," Zeth replied. "Their main military forces are destroyed." "Are they?" questioned another council member. "We never found Admiral Bennett's body, or many of their top military leaders." Zeth dismissed the concern. "They have nowhere to hide. No weapons that can harm our ships. They will accept their place eventually." At that moment, deep in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune, lights began to come on inside massive hidden shipyards. Hundreds of vessels, built in secret over years, powered up their engines. Standing on the bridge of the largest ship, the UES Retribution, Fleet Commander Michel Garcia gave the order all had been waiting for. "All ships prepare for launch. Operation Lazarus is now active. The time has come to take back what is ours." 4 years before the Council attack, Admiral John Harrison had a private meeting with President Palmer. The meeting was not recorded in any official logs. "Mr. President, I don't trust these aliens," Harrison said as they stood alone in the Oval Office. They're too helpful, too friendly. Palmer looked troubled. You think they have other plans for us? I do, Harrison replied. So I'm asking for authorization to create a backup plan. Something they won't know about. Palmer nodded slowly. What do you need? Resources diverted secretly. A hidden base in the outer solar system. And people I can trust. That conversation started the Phoenix Protocol. While Earth openly built ships and bases with Council help, Harrison secretly created something else entirely. Now, Commander Michelle Garcia walked through the massive hidden shipyard built inside a hollowed-out dwarf planet in the Kuiper Belt. Around her, engineers and crew members prepared hundreds of warships for battle. None of these ships had ever been reported to the Council. Garcia stopped at a viewing window and looked at the pride of the fleet, the UES Retribution. Nearly twice the size of any official Earth warship, it carried weapons based on Council technology that Harrison's scientists had secretly improved. Beautiful, isn't she? Said a voice behind her. Garcia turned to see Construction Chief Samantha Miller approaching. You and your team did the impossible, building all this without being detected. Miller smiled proudly. The stealth systems were the hardest part. Hiding our heat and energy signatures took years to perfect. But the Council has no idea we exist. On the other side of the shipyard, Captain Morgan's U.S. Defender arrived after a dangerous journey avoiding Council patrols. Morgan could hardly believe his eyes as he stepped onto the massive station. How? He asked Garcia after she greeted him. How did you build all this without them knowing? Admiral Harrison never trusted the Council, Garcia explained as they walked. He convinced the president to secretly divert resources from other projects. We built everything here, far beyond the Council's regular patrol routes. And the workers? Morgan asked, looking at the thousands of personnel, officially listed as lost in space accidents or transferred to remote outposts. Actually brought here in secret, Garcia replied. Families too. We have a complete colony section. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ambassador Zeth received concerning reports from Council patrols. Our ships detected unusual energy readings near the orbit of Pluto, his officer reported. But when we investigated, there was nothing there. Equipment malfunction, Zeth suggested. Possibly. But this is the third such report this month. Zeth frowned. Increased patrols in the outer system. It's probably nothing, but we should be thorough. Back at the hidden fleet, Lieutenant Eric Barnes presented his plan to the command staff. The Council relies on these communication relays, Barnes explained, pointing to a map showing dots throughout the solar system. If we hack them and feed false data, we can blind their ships temporarily. Garcia nodded appreciatively. How long would it take? We've been working on this for years, Barnes replied. We're ready now. In another part of the station, Morgan reunited with an old friend, Admiral Bennett, who had escaped Earth just before the attack. I knew Harrison was building something out here, Bennett told Morgan. But this exceeds even my expectations. Can we really defeat the Council with this fleet? Morgan asked. They have ships throughout the galaxy. Bennett smiled grimly. We don't need to defeat their entire civilization, just the forces in our system. On Europa, Dr. Russell's team made their final breakthrough. They had refined Council weapon technology to create something new. Energy cannons that could penetrate Council shields with a fraction of the power consumption. Send the specs to the fleet, Russell ordered, and prepare our own prototype for launch. As the hidden human fleet readied for battle, resistance cells on Earth received new orders. Prepare for coordinated strikes on Council ground forces. The time for small harassment actions was ending. Soon, the real war would begin. In her quarters aboard the Retribution, Commander Garcia studied the latest intelligence from Earth. Council forces were growing comfortable, believing they had won. Their ships patrolled in predictable patterns. Their commanders had become complacent. Perfect, she whispered. They'll never see us coming. The time for waiting was over. Commander Garcia stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as the massive ship moved into position. Around it, hundreds of human vessels formed attack groups. Years of planning were about to pay off. "All ships report ready, Commander," said her second-in-command, Captain Steve Mason. Garcia nodded. "Begin Operation Lazarus." First phase: communications disruption. Throughout the solar system, hidden human agents activated devices attached to Council communication relays. Lieutenant Barnes watched from his station as the plan unfolded. "It's working," Barnes reported excitedly. "Their network is accepting our fake data streams. Their ships are getting false positions for everything in the system." The human fleet moved toward Earth under complete stealth. Thanks to Miller's technology, they remained invisible to Council sensors. The ships traveled in perfect formation, each captain knowing exactly what to do. Captain Morgan commanded a strike team of smaller, faster ships. "All vessels maintain stealth protocols," he ordered. "We hit their orbital platforms first, then their command ships." On Europa, Dr. Russell and her team loaded their new weapon prototypes onto hidden shuttles. "Time to join the fight," she told her people. "Remember, aim for their engine sections. One hit should disable them." Ambassador Zeth was in his quarters on the Council command ship when alarms began blaring. He rushed to the bridge. "What's happening?" he demanded. The ship's captain looked confused. "Our sensors are showing contradictory readings. Some systems report massive energy signatures approaching. Others show nothing at all." "Run diagnostics," Zeth ordered. "It must be equipment failure." "We already did," the captain replied nervously. 3 times. On Earth, Resistance leader Julia Patterson received the signal she had waited months for. "It's time," she told her fighters. "Hit every Council ground installation. Focus on their communication centers." Across Earth, Resistance cells launched coordinated attacks. Council soldiers found themselves under fire from all directions. Their calls for support went unanswered as their communications failed. Defense Secretary Ward, who had been hiding with the Resistance, directed attacks on the Council's main ground base in North America. "They're confused," she reported to Patterson. "Their air support isn't responding." In orbit around Mars, Council ships detected strange readings. The patrol leader ordered his vessels to investigate. As they moved to the source of the disturbance, all their systems suddenly shut down. Captain Morgan's strike team decloaked just long enough to fire their weapons. "Target engines only," Morgan reminded his gunners. "We want to disable, not destroy them." The Council ships never had a chance to fire back. One by one, they drifted powerless in space. Back on the Retribution, Garcia received the first battle reports. Phase 1 complete. Council communications disrupted. Their patrol fleets around Mars and Jupiter have been neutralized. "Any losses?" asked Admiral Bennett, who stood watching from the rear of the bridge. "None, sir," Garcia replied. "Their ships never even fired a shot." Bennett smiled grimly. Now for Phase 2. Earth. On the Council command ship, chaos reigned. Their sensors finally cleared enough to show the truth. Hundreds of human warships approaching from all directions. Smaller vessels had already disabled their defense platforms. "Impossible," Zeth shouted. "They had no fleet this size." "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessels." On screens throughout the Council fleet, Commander Garcia's face appeared. Her expression was cold and determined. "Attention Council forces. This is Commander Michelle Garcia of the United Earth Fleet. You attacked our world without provocation. You killed millions of our people. Now you will face the consequences." Zeth tried to organize a defense, but it was already too late. His ships were scattered throughout the system, their communications in disarray. And the human fleet was everywhere at once. On Earth, people looked up to see new lights in the sky, flashes of weapons fire. For the first time since the invasion, they felt something that had been missing for months: hope. Dr. Russell's shuttles joined Morgan's strike team targeting the engines of the largest Council vessels. "Our new weapons are working perfectly," she reported. "One hit and their shields collapse." As the battle for Earth began in earnest, Garcia sent a tight beam message to the Resistance. "Hold on. We're coming home." The battle for Earth reached its peak on the second day. The human fleet surrounded the planet, engaging Council ships with surprising effectiveness. What had seemed impossible just days ago was now happening. Humanity was winning. On the UES Retribution, Commander Garcia coordinated the attack. Large screens showed the positions of all ships. Human vessels appeared as green dots, Council ships as red. More red dots winked out every hour. "Their central command vessel is trying to retreat," reported Captain Mason. "Should we pursue?" Garcia shook her head. "Let Captain Morgan handle it. We need to secure Earth orbit." The U.S. Defender, now upgraded with the fleet's best weapons, led a group of fast attack ships toward the fleeing Council command vessel. Captain Morgan stood calmly on his bridge as they closed in. "Target their engines only," he ordered. "Ambassador Zeth must not escape." The Defender's new weapons cut through the Council ship's shields like they weren't there. The massive vessel slowed, then stopped completely in space. "Their engines are disabled," reported Lieutenant Emma Wright. "They're defenseless." Morgan nodded. "Prepare boarding teams. I want Seth alive." Lieutenant Kevin Hayes led the boarding party. His team wore new armor developed in the secret fleet yards, designed to resist Council weapons. They cut through the hull and entered the alien ship. "Remember your training," Hayes told his soldiers as they moved through the corridors. "Disable, don't kill unless necessary." Council security forces tried to stop them, but were quickly overwhelmed. The humans moved efficiently, securing section after section. Finally, they'd reached the bridge. Ambassador Zeth and his officers were waiting, weapons drawn. "You cannot win this," Zeth said, sounding desperate. "The Council will send more ships." "Your reinforcements would take months to arrive," Hayes replied calmly. "By then, it will be too late." On Earth, resistance fighters supported by fleet drop ships reclaimed major cities. Julia Patterson led her group into the Council's main ground headquarters in the former United Nations building. "Sweep every room," she ordered. "Capture any Council leaders you find." The Council soldiers were surrendering everywhere. Without support from their ships and with their communications down, they had no hope of victory. Defense Secretary Ward coordinated with Patterson from a mobile command post. "Our people are taking back cities all over the world," she reported. "Singapore, London, and Cairo are already secure." In orbit, something unexpected happened. 3 Council ships suddenly changed their identification signals and stopped firing at human vessels. "We're receiving a transmission from them," said the communications officer on the Retribution. The face that appeared on screen wasn't Ceridian. It belonged to a different alien species with dark purple skin and 4 eyes. "This is Captain Xorl of the Polarian Defense Force," the alien said. "We wish to surrender and request asylum." Garcia looked surprised. "Explain." "Not all Council species supported the attack on Earth," Xorl said. "My people, the Polarians, were forced to participate under threat of our own worlds being quarantined. There are others like us." This information spread quickly through the human fleet. More Council ships began signaling surrender, especially those crewed by Polarians, and 2 other species. On the captured Council command ship, Captain Morgan confronted Ambassador Zeth personally. "Why?" Morgan demanded. "Why betray us after offering friendship?" Zeth's blue skin had paled with stress. "Your kind adapts too quickly. You improve upon technology instead of just using it. The Council has ruled for 10,000 years by controlling who has access to advanced science. Humans would have disrupted everything. So you decided to destroy us." "It was the logical choice," Zeth replied, showing no remorse. "Or so we thought." Morgan had the ambassador confined to secure quarters. As he returned to his ship, he received word from Commander Garcia. All major Council forces in Earth orbit had been defeated or had surrendered. The space around Earth belonged to humanity again. Earth's cities still showed the scars of occupation, but now human flags flew once more. People emerged from hiding, cheering as human ships flew overhead. For the first time in months, they walked freely in their own world. On the Retribution, Garcia received a message from Admiral Bennett. Phase 3 can begin. It's time to address the Council leadership. 1 week after the battle began, Earth was free. Council occupation forces had surrendered, and their ships were either captured or destroyed. The few that escaped would carry news back to the Central Council worlds. Humanity had done the impossible. In Washington, D.C., the UEA government buildings were being repaired. President Palmer, who had survived in a hidden bunker, addressed a crowd of thousands. Today marks a new chapter for humanity, he declared. We faced extinction and instead achieved victory. But what kind of victors shall we be? The question hung in the air as the UES Retribution and a dozen other human ships prepared for an important mission. On the bridge, Commander Garcia reviewed final preparations with Admiral Bennett. The jump drives are ready, she reported. We can reach the Council hub in 3 days. Bennett nodded. Remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about establishing a new relationship. The fleet jumped away from Earth, leaving behind a celebration that spread across the planet. For the first time in human history, people of all nations united in shared victory and relief. At the main Council hub, a massive space station at the center of Council territory, the governing body was in emergency session. News of Earth's victory had thrown the Council into chaos. How could this happen? Demanded the Supreme Counselor, a tall being from one of the oldest Council races. The humans had no fleet capable of defeating our forces. Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded throughout the station. Security officers rushed in with urgent news. Human ships had appeared outside the hub. Not just any ships, enormous warships unlike anything in their records. The Council chamber fell silent as screens showed the UES Retribution, dwarfing the hub's defensive vessels. A communication request came through. Should we accept it? Asked a nervous Council member. Do we have a choice? Replied another. Admiral Bennett's face appeared on their screens. Behind him stood Commander Garcia, Captain Morgan, and representatives from Earth's governments. Esteemed Council members, Bennett began calmly. I am Admiral John Harrison of the United Earth Alliance. We come to discuss terms. The Supreme Counselor tried to maintain dignity. The actions of Ambassador Zeth were not authorized by the full Council. Many of us opposed the quarantine plan. Yet none of you warned us, Bennett replied. None of you prevented the attack that killed millions of our people. Several Council members looked away in shame. A representative of the Polarians stood. Some of us had no choice. The dominant Council species threatened our worlds if we did not comply. Garcia stepped forward. We understand that not all Council races bear equal responsibility. That is why we are here to negotiate rather than seeking vengeance. The negotiations lasted 3 days. When they concluded, a new agreement was signed, the Interstellar Alliance Treaty. Under its terms, Earth would not seek revenge against Council worlds, but the Ceridian leadership would face trial for war crimes. The Council structure would be reformed to ensure equal representation for all member species, and humanity would be recognized as a full partner in galactic affairs. Catherine Wright, who had survived in hiding during the occupation, was appointed as Earth's High Representative to the new alliance. At the signing ceremony, she addressed the gathered delegates. The Council feared humanity because we adapt quickly and never stop improving, she said. They were right to recognize our potential, but wrong to fear it. Together, we can build something better than either of us could alone. As the human fleet prepared to return home, Captain Morgan found Admiral Bennett looking out at the stars from an observation deck. Do you think it will last? Morgan asked. This new peace. Bennett smiled slightly. The Council learned an important lesson about humanity. We're not just adaptable. We're unpredictable. They never imagined we could build a secret fleet. They never thought we would show mercy after victory. And that makes us dangerous, Morgan concluded. No, Bennett corrected him. It makes us valuable. The galaxy needs new ideas, new approaches. That's what humanity brings to the stars. On Earth, cities were being rebuilt. The technologies that had been hidden in the secret fleet now helped restore what was lost. Children pointed excitedly as ships from former council races arrived, bringing diplomats and traders instead of soldiers. The galaxy had changed forever. And humanity, once betrayed and nearly defeated, now stood as architects of a new galactic order.